I fully understand that some people have reservations because it's not the easiest city to cycle in. People can be quite aggressive for various reasons, I think, but I think it's getting better, and especially if you've got the privilege to, live and work around the inner city, inner west, eastern suburbs even. The infrastructure is getting better. So I would say try the safest route possible and experiment with your route, but it's always worth it, Don't put yourself in harm's way, but give it a try. Even if it's riding around on your street for a little while, riding in circles, just give it a try.
Do people need like a special bike to commute to work?
No, you just need one that functions. It's got 2 wheels and a chain and handlebars and a seat. Some are easier than others. You might want some gears. You don't necessarily need gears. Depends on where you live, but no, you don't need a $10,000 carbon fiber racing bike, and you don't need to wear Lycra. Some people choose to wear Lycra, and that's fine. But just anyone can hop on a bike and ride.
Yeah. So he got footage the other day where a driver threw a takeaway cup at him, chucked it at him, and it just barely missed his bike. But there was a cop on the street, so he stopped, he showed it to the cop, and they got his license plate number, just instant.
I ride a steel frame Soma Wolverine, which are made somewhere in San Francisco or the Bay Area, I believe. It's called a 29er, which just means that it's hard to describe, but 29-inch wheels with fat tires, knobby tires, which allows me to go off-road if I want. It's kind of like an old-school mountain bike. In the 80s, they used to make mountain bikes very different, without suspension, and this is kind of similar to that. It doesn't have suspension, but it's really good for fire trails and off-road rocky bits. Not super technical, but it's also really good for the city. So I built it so I can go long distance, tours out in the backcountry.
So what do you think is the best part of the ride?
Best part of the ride is if I'm feeling up to it and my bike is functioning properly. When I go off-road in Centennial Park and I don't feel like I'm in Sydney. In particular, there's this one section that's all pine trees and lots of roots, so it's a little bit sketchy, a little bit dangerous, but the pine trees make me feel like I'm in the Northern Hemisphere somewhere, I really like that bit.
How did you find that little trail in Centennial Park?
I bought a bike that's a little bit more like a mountain bike recently, about a year ago, for my birthday. And I've been exploring fire trails and things like that and kind of getting back into off-road cycling, which I hadn't done for years. So one day I was riding through Centennial and I saw this guy on a bike with knobby tires just kind of disappear into the trees. And so I followed him and just went to see where he was going, and I realized that there's this whole trail system in Centennial Park, which, for people listening or watching, technically you're not supposed to ride on. I think it's for people walking their dogs. But if you're just really nice to the people who are walking, and generous and let them walk past you, people tend to kind of live and let live. But anyway, now that I know it's there, I've explored all the little trails.
We're at the stables in Moore Park, and now we're gonna go to Redfern into the city, so it changes. So now we're at the intersection of Cleveland and Anzac. It's pretty busy.
Why do you choose to ride to work?
I choose to ride to work Now out of habit, I'm just kind of addicted to riding my bike, but I also consciously choose to ride to work because it seems, first of all, it seems silly to drive to a place like Ultimo, because there's zero parking around here. It seems silly to sit in your car in traffic in the morning. I just feel so much better getting out and breathing fresh air. And I also choose it over public transportation just because by the time I get to UTS, as you saw, we've ridden up hills and down hills and gone around traffic, and you get the blood flowing and you feel much more awake when you get here.
Truck full of lilies.
Do you have experience from riding in other cities?
I do. I've ridden in cities in South America, the US, Canada, Ireland, New Zealand. Yeah, a couple of other places. And, it varies. If I were to compare one, Wellington, our next door neighbor, New Zealand, has an incredible cycling infrastructure. And it's a small city, but they've got revolutionary things like spaces for bikes at stoplights that are separate from the cars, and they're ahead of the cars, and there's just this understanding, and it's backed up by a law, that cyclists go first when the light turns green, and then cars go by, second, and allow them to, move into their appropriate lanes. Wellington would be a really good example for Sydney.
Is it good because of the infrastructure, or is it good because of the culture?
Yeah, both, I think. They've got their own culture of aggression towards cyclists, and cyclists being kind of pompous and entitled and looking down on drivers, but it's not as bad as it is in Sydney. For whatever reason, maybe it's because they don't have an equivalent that I know of the Australian or the Daily Telegraph that are constantly telling people in the western suburbs that cyclists are latte-sipping rich jerks,
Do you drive as well?
I do. I don't have a car, but occasionally, I'll hire a car.
Do you think that you drive differently because you also ride a bike?
Definitely, yeah. When I drive and I pass a cyclist, I won't pass them unless I can get, the law is a meter if you're going under 60 kilometers, and then 1.5 meters if you're going over that. I'd pass cyclists by going in the opposite lane if I can, if it's safe, I think I'm much more aware of cyclists than pedestrians because I am a cyclist and pedestrian. But I do, certainly not perfect. As soon as I get behind the wheel, I fall prey to the same things that everyone falls prey to. I start, getting aggressive and shouting, but I'd like to think I drive better because I'm a cyclist.
The parking area of UTS. What do you think of that installation down there?
It's incredible. It's I've always ridden to work at previous jobs that I've had, and I've never had facilities that are quite as good as the ones here at UTS.
Here we are. Feels like we came a long way, doesn't it? Find a parking space.
The fact that I can lock up my bike in a secure cage and then take a shower is life-changing.